Hi guys, welcome to our Facebook Live. We hope some people can join us today. We're really excited. We're sorry that we had to switch to Facebook Live, by the way. We had some people interested, but we know that it's vacation week and we did not realize that when we scheduled it. Just
No,
so
we
you
did
know.
not.
So we know that you guys are out and about, and so we wanted to provide you with the workshop still, but at the same time, have it as a recording to look back to as well. So some of you might remember from our workshop back a few months ago, right?
Yeah, October-ish.
Was it October? Okay. Anyway, about nutrition, Jackie over here, she helped present and teach us about anti-inflammatory diet and all that good stuff, which I'm following so strictly, like believe me.
Those holiday cookies.
So we wanted to bring her back in today and talk about setting goals and how we can achieve them. I know that it's a huge area in my life. For anybody that knows me, obviously that's really huge. So, and I know that talking to all of you parents every single day in and out of the office, that is also huge for you, and you guys have big goals for your families, for yourselves. And don't forget about yourselves. That's obviously very important. So we wanted to present this to you today. So we hope that we can provide some value for you.
So for those of you who are back, I'm so excited to have a chance to speak to you again. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. So that's why I did the particular workshop last time. And I'm also a certified life coach. And I have plenty of work with special needs that I've done in the past. And I worked with Christina a few times as well. So I know the area of special needs and how important that goal setting is. And it really becomes a family structure, because not only is the actual patient, for Christine's terms, really focusing on those goals, but everyone in the family is focusing on a different particular goal. So I think the first way to start is to say, why do we set actual goals? Because we're going to kind of go through everything during this live, and we're going to say why we set them and kind of what happens along the way, whether we achieve them, whether we don't achieve them, what happens, when do we fall off that bandwagon, how do we get back on, how can we stay on, how can we stay motivated? There's so much that goes on behind it. And I think it's a good time to talk about this because we just had New Year's resolutions too. And this is usually the time of year where people kind of slowly starts trickling off that New Year's resolution path. So
like when the gym is really crowded in January, and then February.
Yeah, the Whole Foods line has gotten significantly shorter over the past few weeks.
Yeah, that's why I didn't go there. Yeah. I know it would be too crowded. Yeah. By the way, I have the giggles today, so I'm just warning all of you that this is what's happening. Continue.
There's also Prime Now where you can order your Whole Foods groceries online. Okay. So no excuses anymore. But so why do we set goals? I know for me, I set goals because I want to achieve something. I've had a dream, I've had a vision, there's something I want to achieve, I want to get from point A to point B, and I see this big picture and I imagine myself doing something, and that's when I kind of set the goal as a picture. So that for me is why I set a goal. I think it says we have 2 people watching. If you are comfortable sharing, if you're not comfortable sharing, you don't have to. Yeah, are we able to see their names?
I don't know.
Let's see. Who are you?
I don't know. We still don't know how to work this live thing.
All right, well, we're technology challenged.
No, well, I know personally too, setting goals similar to what Jackie is saying, you want to achieve things, and that could be personally, that could be as with your significant other, that could be for your child, which we see here every day in the office, setting like physical goals, and setting things for yourself. So things that you want to be at, whether that be emotionally, whether that be like you want to physically look better, or I know a lot of my personal goals are based obviously around the business and what I really see my life as, but also I have other personal goals too, and self-development goals and things like that, which I know a lot of self-development things are things that you parents feel strongly about, because a lot of the time you don't get that self-care time, and it's so important. And so I think that this is going to be hopefully really helpful for you to start setting those types of self-care types of goals and things like that. And we'll talk through it, but that's my little blurb.
Yeah, and if you're live and you want to participate and answer any of the questions, if you have a free hand or, and if you're not comfortable, that's okay too. Obviously no harm, no foul. But if you want to gain anything extra out of this, we can obviously see what you're commenting as you comment in. So if you want to share why you set goals, you're more than welcome to as well. So any of the questions I throw out there to Christine or to myself, feel free to be engaged and participate just the same. So we're set, and those goals can also fall under so many different categories too. And I feel like people forget about this. So you might have a financial goal, and you're most likely working on multiple goals at one time, but you most likely also have a one giant, I call it your big picture goal. So, and I think you said you call it the bag goal, the big hairy.
Yeah, well, that's like a term that I was taught, but a big hairy audacious goal. And it's just like a type of goal that's just like, whoa, that scares me. That's totally freaky, but it's totally something that I want to do. And it could be something you randomly thought of. It could be something that you've been thinking about, or you grow with it over time, like something that turns into like this giant goal because you didn't realize what you might have been capable of. But yeah.
Yeah, so our goals can be in a bunch of different areas. So a lot of us have this tendency where we see ourselves, we get this big picture, we think of this big hairy goal, and we're like, oh my God, that would be amazing. That would be so cool to achieve. I'm doing it. I'm going to make it happen. Or we might be like, that would be really cool to achieve. I admire people who achieve that. Maybe I could do it one day. And then we put it off, but it's always kind of just there in the background. So what happens to us when we set these goals? Where do we fall off the bandwagon? Do we achieve them? Do we not? And sadly, most people don't achieve their goals, but it's really more of an equation. So it's a process. You can't just set a goal and get from point A to point B. So it makes me wonder, do you think, and I'm going to ask this to Christine, do you think there is such thing as too big of a goal?
So personally, no. But that's just me. Like I see, for example, like I see kids in here and parents are like, I want my child to walk and I want them to do these things, and those are those big goals. And so I never think that anything is out of anybody's reach, but obviously you have to think about what is going to be in the way and what those barriers are going to be, and you have to set a plan to get there. So like, you're not just going to teleport. Is that the right word? I don't even know. You're not just going to go from like, okay, well, I want to, example, marathon running, because I'm all crazy. So I no longer can run that length. So tomorrow, if I say I want to run a marathon tomorrow, like, is that too big of a goal? Can I achieve it? I don't know. But
also, what dangers are you going to put yourself in by achieving that goal too?
Yeah. So there's definitely barriers to everything. And those are the things that you kind of have to plan for and see coming. And those, you have to stay motivated through that to get to your goals. And hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Oh my gosh, you're joining us on vacation, you crazy woman. Okay.
Pennsylvania, that's fun.
Yeah, so I personally don't think that there are goals that are too big. I think that you should always set your goals really big, because you never really understand what you're capable of until you're working towards that. Like, I wanted to start my own place and have this vision for this business, and a long time ago that seemed like a crazy goal, but I knew what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get there, and so that's kind of how I work towards it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great answer, and you touched on so many things that we're going to talk about in this little tidbit too. We have these big pictures, but a lot of times without a game plan of any sort, without looking at possibly recognizing, and I'm sure when you started off and you pictured this along the way, you knew there were going to be little goals, like maybe it was graduating college, becoming a PT, and these were your little milestone goals to help keep you motivated. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the reason I noticed through life coaching and as a dietitian as well, I work as a weight loss coach, for a smartphone app, one of the biggest reasons people fall off is because they don't stay motivated, or they just kind of get sidetracked and then they just never get back to it. So there's a lot of things that happen, which we are going to talk about. So I always say that there's, you know, multiple different types of people. So I was listening to a podcast the other day and I was telling Christine earlier, and it just, when she said this, it resonated with me so much. It made so much sense. It was one of those aha moments that you have and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I never connect these pieces before? And she was saying, and she was talking from a business standpoint, but I think it works really well with this particular topic. So there are 3 types of people, and you can be all 3, but you have to be at least one. And if you figure out what you are, you'll know it as soon as I say it. Because as soon as I said it to Christine, she was like, I'm that one. That's what I am. So we have the organizer, the initiator, and the supporter. So if you're an initiator, you're the person that has all the grand ideas. You're like, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. It's going to be great. I'm going to be an astronaut while also majoring in medical. You know, I'm also going to go to medical school while I'm an astronaut, and it's going to be great. And then you have all these grand, like, it's going to be great. It's going to be huge. You have all these amazing goals, and you're like, I'm going to do it. And you're all pumped up in that moment. You're excited. You leave, you go to bed, and you're like, I'm going to be great. Like, this is going to be amazing. And then none of it ever gets done because you look for excuses, or you're like, oh, it just suddenly, like, somehow it just like trickles off or whatever it is. Or like maybe you're throwing a massive event for your sib shop and you're like, yes, this is going to be amazing. We're going to do all these crazy things. We're going to have a carnival. And then like,
that's not the plan, by the way. Maybe someday, but she's making this up right now.
No
pressure on the carnival.
And then maybe you'll look outside and be like, oh, it's July. It might hail. Like, I don't think we can have the carnival, guys. It might hail. So you look for any excuse to kind of give yourself that support and that kind of cushion to not get your goal done. And you kind of use that as your reasoning behind it. Like, oh, okay, I couldn't go for a run today because my dog had a cough, or, you know, it could be Christine's reality. So that's the person who has all the amazing ideas. They don't get it finished. They get it started. They probably have like 16 notebooks all over the bedroom, all written in, tons of ideas, never finishes. Then you have the organizer. And they're the person that gets it done, but they don't really come in with a plan. Like, they're the type of person that just like, they start running because they felt like running one day, and then they realize they're good at it, and then suddenly they're a marathon runner and they're doing awesome. They're like killing it. But they never came in with that plan. It just so happened that they organized their life and then they organized everything around it. So the organizers usually do reach their goals, but there's no actual set plan. It's not set as a goal until they realize it's kind of working for them. Mm-hmm. So those are the organizers. And then we have the supporters, which are the people that are just, you know, they're your cheerleaders, and they'll run the mile with you and carry your water bottle. They don't really have any particular goals of their own. They might, but you know, they're not going to put them in your face like the initiator would come in and say, these are all the things I'm going to do this month. The supporters can say like, yeah, what can I do to help you? Like, you know, so there's all, and you can be all 3 people. And if you are all 3 people, you're doing better in goals than I am. But so now how does that apply here?
Sorry, Chance just started cuddling with his blanket, like spooning with it, for those of you who know. And
it threw me a little off guard. But so when you realize what type of person you are, that also helps you realize how you can grow and how you can develop and what areas you kind of need to work in. So in terms of motivation, I think that is one of the biggest things. So many people lose that motivation. They wonder if it's even possible. There's a lot of things that really come into play and interrupt everything. So like we said, is there such thing as too big of a goal? So you have to have, there's a great quote, and I don't remember it right now, but it talks, this does not help to anybody, but it talks about the fact that if you have a goal without a game plan, that's what it is. If you have a goal without a game plan, it's just a dream. And that's really all it is, because if you don't have an idea of how you plan to get from point A to point B, and you don't have intentions of, and you don't have to know everything in the first minute. You know, you don't have to sit down with this master plan book and figure out how you're going to lose 50 pounds. It's going to come along the way, but you have to have little steps that you're taking. So for example, I like to think of it as a map. I would never go up to, and maybe this won't resonate because, you know, we're in the digital age, but I wouldn't go up to somebody, take away all their cell phones and everything and say, hey, you know, Christine, do me a favor, drive to Toronto, don't stop anywhere, bye. And just leave her with no map, no way to get there, and she wouldn't, you know, no rest stops. you know, if she's driving from New York to Toronto, she's going to hit some rest stops. She's probably going to turn on her GPS.
Probably going to stop for food.
Yeah, there's going to be stops along the way. And those stops are going to be what act as your small milestones. So if you had a goal to lose 50 pounds, for example, your small first milestone might be, hey, you know what? I got on the scale. And that's a really big thing. I got on the scale, and celebrate those small wins. Those small wins are huge. They really, really are. You know, if you're facing something that is scary for you, you know, maybe for Christine, when she first started this business, it was super, super scary for her. And, you know, even just, yeah.
Still is,
and, you know, she may have been like, okay, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? And then even if you celebrate that small win by yourself, like, oh my God, I paid the electric bill today, you know, like with the money from my business or whatever it is, that's a huge goal. And that's something you should celebrate. It's a small goal in terms of, you know, the big scheme of things in your big picture, but, you know, you should definitely celebrate those small wins and, you know, keep yourself motivated.
Something else that Jackie is touching on that we didn't even I'm just joining in here randomly, but about being scared in terms of goals. And that is my life story pretty much. And I feel that you should always set goals that scare you a little bit because it's pushing you outside of that comfort zone. And if you stay in your comfort zone, you're always going to be there. And you're always going to be in that place wondering what it would be like if you lost that 25 pounds, or if you exercised every day, would you feel better? And to take that point of view of you are pushing yourself outside of that, and then that place will become comfortable too. And then you're going to have to push past that again. But to think that you're the only person that might be scared about stepping on the scale, about starting your own business, about anything you have a goal for, you're not the only one. Anybody that sets goals, you're going to be scared because it's not what you're comfortable with. And that's why we set goals, because we are human and we want to be better and we want to be our best selves always. And so how are we going to get there? We set our goals, and you have to have that point of view of like, it's okay if you're scared. You're not alone. If you need to reach out to support systems, you can do that too, but you're not alone. And it's just part of the process. That fear is so part of the process. And it's, even if like you see people that are doing all these crazy things and you're like Olympic runners, like they're running so much and they look fearless. They look fearless. No matter what, they're still scared. They're still scared to get there. They push through that, and that's why they're at that level. So you kind of have to think about it like that too.
Well, you're also touching upon growth. So the whole point of goals too is also to help you grow. So and you never want a goal to be something that is so simple, you know you're going to achieve it, where it's not going to challenge you. Like I could get up tomorrow and say, you know what, my goal is to run a mile, but I know I can run a mile. I know I've done it. I know I did it the other day. It's not really a goal. You know, it's maybe I haven't done it in a while, but your goals actually need to challenge you. So like you were saying, if it's not pushing you out of your comfort zone, if it's not, you know, even if scared doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't make you think, or it doesn't make you have to actually make a conscious effort, then it's not an appropriate goal for you. So that's something that you really need to keep, you know, in mind too. If you don't have to change something about your life and make more conscious decisions, then you know, is it really a goal for you? Is it really appropriate? So these are some things that you may want to think about as well. So like we said, there's no such thing as too big of a goal. In my opinion, either. I stand right by Christine with that. There's no such thing as too big of a goal. I think you need to dream big. You're your only limit. I just happened to catch that as I was saying that right now. But you're really the only thing that stands in your way. And you don't even necessarily have to put a timeline on that goal. You know, sometimes timelines help. It depends on who you are as a person. If, you know, you're somebody who needs a timeline, then, you know, absolutely go for that. But there's no need to put a timeline. You just actually have to constantly be growing and be willing to, and like you said, stepping out of that comfort zone little by little, that can push you towards your bigger goal, your bigger picture. It doesn't have to be, you know, one long stride. You know, you can have little baby steps where, okay, I stepped on the scale. That was stepping out of my comfort zone. okay, great. I went to the gym for the first time. That was stepping out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
I wore a bathing suit in public for the first time. That was stepping out of my comfort zone. And you're slowly working your way by breaking through these barriers. So that's a huge thing too. Barriers are going to come up, like Christine said, and, being able to tackle them. And, barriers come with a lot of emotions. If you've ever set a goal and you've achieved it, it is an emotional journey. And I don't know about anybody else, but I wouldn't want to change that, because I know I've achieved goals in my life too. And without the emotion that comes with it, the craziness, because even becoming a registered dietitian, it's not easy. There were a lot of crying nights. There were a lot of days I cried. And I wouldn't take back those moments, because those are the moments that make you realize the goal is worth it. And those are the moments that also make you realize, how bad do I want this? Am I really willing to push forward and continue? And that can be for your child, that can be for you, that can be for a family member, that can be for anyone. So when it comes to those emotions, I think that's another thing that really throws people off when it comes to goals, because the minute emotions take in, if there's something about emotions that make people back down. And the second you feel, and we picked some emotions out that we're going to work with you guys on a little bit tonight. But as soon as that emotion kicks in, it's like, you would think it was like a big giant, like coming for you, like ready to take everything that you've ever owned away.
Mhm.
But the good news is, even with those emotions, you can take a minute for yourself. And it doesn't have to, a lot of you that are watching are special needs parents. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. This is one of those self-care moments. And I think my next workshop for you guys is going to be self-care, because I think you need it, and you never vote for it because you don't, because you're that selfless.
By the way, this is totally unrelated.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I should do this. We're going to be doing like a mom or parent self-care challenge in March. So that maybe we'll work that into the workshop. So stay tuned. But anyway,
that's awesome. Yeah. But self-care, this portion of self-care towards your goal doesn't have to take a long time. You can even do it when you're driving. You can do it when you're walking up the stairs. You can do it when you're crawling into bed at night while you're falling asleep. Instead of counting sheep, you could be saying an affirmation instead. There's so many different things that you can do. So now, when you're focusing on those emotions, you can have a million emotions set in, but it's whether you're letting those emotions take control or you're taking control back. It's who's having the control. Are you letting the emotion have control, or are you saying, I'm in charge, I'm taking the control back, and I am the one that, really controls my fate, my destiny, my journey. So the emotions that we chose, we're hoping really resonate with you. We chose them carefully.
Yeah. We sat down, and so I was kind of thinking about all of my conversations with you parents, or even if you're not one of our parents, like what types of things that I can empathize with you for. And, there's a lot of these emotions I think are just general. Everyone kind of goes through at some point, but in particular, I know that these are definitely ones that you guys have experienced and will continue to experience along your journey. And hopefully this might help and this might guide you a little bit. Do you want to go through them, or?
Well, first, so the way the emotions work, so we are going to touch upon a little bit with smell, essential oils, affirmations, and goal setting tonight, since I do a lot of things with essential oils and, working through barriers in that sense. So we have what's called our limbic system. So if you want more information on the limbic system, you want a more sciencey definition, you're more than welcome to reach out to me or Christine. I'm going to keep things really simple.
Reach out to her. PT school was a long time ago.
Well, you can reach out to Christine for my information. But I'm going to keep things really simple, because a lot of people get very confused when there's too many scientific terms thrown in there. So if you ever have smelled something on the street, so maybe you smell chocolate and it took you right back to your grandparents' kitchen when they baked chocolate chip cookies, and you don't even realize that memory happened, years ago. You weren't even thinking about it. You forgot you had it. It was just stored in your body somehow. And then the second you smelled it, it immediately transported you back. That is your limbic system at work. So smell is a really, really strong connection to the limbic system, and it immediately transports you. So it works amazing with emotion, because if you notice, maybe you were very, very close to your grandma. The second you smelled that chocolate or those chocolate chip cookies, you were transported back to, the memory of her kitchen, and you were feeling joyous and maybe even a little hungry and excited to see grandma, or maybe you didn't like grandma. and which is possible too. And you remember that moment of the chocolate chip cookies, and you're like, oh my God, you know, it feels awful. Like makes me so upset. It makes me depressed. It makes me feel really, really frustrated.
Mhm.
So any emotion can come up, and that's the really, really good thing, because there's so many ways that you can tackle this. So we have our first emotion, which if you want to go into why we chose it, it's overwhelmed.
Yes. And just side note, yes, Barbara, using that for her is going to be awesome.
Yay!
For coughing and stomach pain, definitely will make an impact for sure. But yes, so our first emotion is overwhelm. I know I personally have felt this many times, especially with all of my big goals and craziness, you know me. But I know particularly this is one of the biggest things that I know that you all go through, whether it's making a million doctor's appointments, whether it's running yourself, like you're coming home from work and you immediately have to like take care of your child and having to worry about making dinner or worrying about doing the laundry or anything. Like you guys, I know, have so much more on your plates and so many more things that take you away from being focused and staying towards those goals. And overwhelm is such a huge emotion because it's just like like you were saying earlier, like it's a big wave that's just crashing over you and you're just like, oh my gosh, and you're swimming in all these thoughts. And so when I think of being overwhelmed, it's like you're seeing the big picture of like all of these crazy things going on, and that's just life. Like life is just craziness all the time. But I know for me personally, when I sit down and I reflect, okay, like I have to break this down, because if I don't break this down, I'm gonna throw up, or I'm gonna
crash,
have a panic attack, or I'm gonna whatever. And so breaking those goals down is huge, and making it small little things to focus on at once is also huge for me. So say like I wanted to, starting a business is overwhelming. It's like I have to do 50,000 things at once and juggle 50 balls at once, and while standing on a foot on a wheel. I don't know, like something crazy. I would never get on one. But anyway, so it's like trying to do all those things at once. And then so if I'm like, okay, well, if I just keep this ball up in the air, like I'll be able to manage a second one much better. And so you have to focus on one thing at a time when it comes to overwhelm. And so when we take you through like these 4 to 5 emotions, we're going to go through the emotion and then what's the other side of it. So like what's the opposite of that?
What the goal is to conquer the emotion.
Yeah. And then what the way out is,
which is your affirmation,
which will be the affirmation. And then we'll go through the oil. So if you don't have oils, you don't obviously have to use them, but if you do have them, you can. If you don't, you can just use these affirmations as well. And then where you're really supposed to be putting the oil on your body. So the first emotion, like I said, was overwhelm. And so the other side of that is vision. So I don't know if you...
Yeah. So, and that kind of goes with the overwhelm. We were saying it kind of feels like a wave. And I was saying this to Christine earlier. I know when I feel overwhelmed, I feel like a wave is coming for me. And this can kind of go with any emotion. You have the choice where you can either stand there and you can let that wave come over you, crash down. You don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of like at the beach. If you've ever been pulled like underwater by mistake and you're fumbling, you don't know how to come back up. You're reaching for air. It's the scariest, most likely 10 seconds of your life, because it's usually not longer than 10 seconds. I hope not for anyone.
Yeah.
But by the time you get up, you're like, oh my God. And you suddenly have this like vision. It's like, you're like, oh my God, okay, I got it. I'm good. I have it. I have control back. I'm standing up. I'm getting out of the water because that was enough for today or whatever it is. But you have control back. So with any of these emotions, it's taking the option. Am I going to let the wave crash over me and I'm going to experience that, fear, that craziness, that fumbling, or am I going to look at into the wave and say, okay, I'm the one in control here. I'm staying in control. I'm the one. And you can have that moment of letting the wave come down. We all have it. You're not imperfect in any way. If, you know, the wave hits down on you and you know, you lose a little bit of control for a minute. It's a practice. You get better at this as you go. So once you gain that control, one of the ways of doing it is, like we said, the other side is vision. So you're looking and you're saying, okay, my vision, you know, I have a vision, you know, there's a reason I'm doing this. There's a reason I'm overwhelmed. You know, you have your goal at your facility, and, you know, I'm sure all of you at home, maybe it's your child walking again. You know, my vision is, you know, the child walking again, or whatever it is. And, you know, my personal vision is to help special needs with nutritional and, you know, life coaching issues. So that's my vision. So we're overwhelmed because we have a vision. So we have to remember that that vision does exist. And then the way out is an affirmation. So for anyone who doesn't know how to use affirmations, the best way I find them helpful, and you don't even have to close your eyes. It doesn't have to be a big meditative process. You can just say them out loud. So for example, the affirmation for this is I focus my energy. And if you want to add on to an affirmation that we say here tonight to help make it resonate more with you. So, you know, I focus on little Johnny walking. I focus on little Johnny walking. I focus on little Johnny walking. And the more you say it, the more powerful you feel. The more you realize, you know, like, okay, you know what, this is happening. I'm taking control. I'm the one, you know, I'm not going to let fear, overwhelmed, whatever emotion it is, stop me. So the essential oil that goes with this one is clarity. So I have clarity in my hand. I wish you guys could smell it, but it's kind of got a little bit of a minty, sweet kind of flavor. So you can take this one and you can put it right on your third eye, which is right between your eyebrows. And that is your vision point. So, and I hope like I can still.
And I'll like be sure to like type this out for you guys too, so that you can use it and refer back to it.
And if you have any questions, there are plenty more emotions. I have a book if you ever want to go through.
Reach out to Jackie, yeah. But yes, Kathy, needing the escape, and those escapes are not always used wisely. You need that time to be more useful for sure. It's such like the second that Jackie was like, what emotion do you think that we should talk about? I was like, overwhelmed. Like that's just what it is. But I know that I try to use, I'm not always successful at it, but I definitely do try to use affirmations. And when you're focusing on the fact that you're saying an affirmation, even just that fact, you're taking that focus away from like, oh my God, I have 30 things to do on my to-do list and 2 hours to get them done. There's no way that's ever going to happen. I feel like crying and whatever. It's taking you away. You're like, oh, okay, so I can remember to say my affirmation, and then use whatever affirmation or whatever you really want to put in there. So for whatever goal you might have, for whatever issue you have going on, and even just the fact that you're shifting that focus over to something else is like super helpful. But yeah, okay.
But I think one thing too, because Kathy, you bring up such a great point about, you know, the need for an escape, and those escapes are not always used wisely. Before I went into this field, I was actually an event planner, and I would go away on vacation, and I would be like, cool, I'm going on vacation, I'm going to relax so much, and then I would never put down my phone or laptop because I was always answering people. So you are not, and I'm going to say this for everybody, you are not a bad parent, a bad sister, a bad brother, a bad friend, a bad aunt, uncle, whatever it is, because you're taking time for yourself. You know, we all need time to recharge. It's okay to not answer the phone or to put the phone away for a day. And if you're going away with just your husband or your wife or whoever it is, to put the phone away for a day and just go and be the two of you, or be by yourself. I've gone on vacation alone, and it's the best thing ever. If anyone, you know, it feels really weird at first, but you're making a face.
No, I love it. I love it too. I was thinking of you guys like, oh, they're going to be like, no way can I ever go away alone.
But it is, you know, and you don't even have to go on this grand, luxurious escape. You could go to the grocery store and put your phone away, and it's okay. So I know a lot of people have said to me, I feel like I'm a bad person if I can't be there for so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. It does not make you a bad person to recharge, to take back that energy, to say, I need a minute for me. Because if you aren't taking care of yourself and you're not recharging and you're not, you know, putting that energy back into you, and, you know, you're not taking care of yourself. And in order to take care of other people, you have to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, then what happens, you know, you're going to eventually crash and burn out. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, but and then what happens from there. So don't feel like you're a bad person if you're choosing to take that moment away or anything like that. Yeah. But our next emotion is misunderstood.
Yeah, so I wanted to pick this emotion because I don't know if you guys remember from like a blog post a while ago, I asked you parents, like, what would you want to say to anybody that might not understand? Like, you get dirty looks in the grocery store, you get people that ask ridiculous questions, like, did that really just come out of their mouth? Like, why are people like not understanding, like, my child might be disabled, but they're still a human. Like, things that make sense to us because we're in that world, and things that don't make sense to people because they're maybe not exposed to it. And so that is one of the huge emotions. Like, I know that you guys go through that. I know that there's so many times that it could even be by like your family members. Like, they might not even understand that you can't go to that family event because you would have to bring a million things, and it's not the best environment to be bringing your son or daughter out in, and like they might have a fever or whatever, and like some people just don't get it. And so I know that that's like, that misunderstood feeling is like a huge emotion for you guys also. And so the other side of that is feeling supported. And so really, like, that's why I'm developing a lot of these like support programs also, though, is because you guys do go through this and you don't feel supported and you need a space for that. And so the affirmation is, the truth supports me. And I don't know if you want to go through the oil for that one.
Yeah. So in terms of so the oil itself is acceptance. And I think the best way to say this in terms of being misunderstood, and of all the things Christine has kind of, all the examples and scenarios that she has kind of laid out, it's frustrating because sometimes, we kind of know people are never always going to understand. There's going to always be that person. And it's so hard because I think a lot of people, and I've seen parents do it especially, it's where they carry this burden. Like, it's their fault that the other person is ignorant. And I don't use that term lightly. The other person is ignorant. They're ignorant, they're closed-minded, or maybe they don't know, and then, they need to choose to be open-minded. But sometimes, as hard as it can be, we need to accept that not everybody is going to understand us. And, for every special needs parent or loved one or guardian, whoever you might be, that's going to feel really frustrating. So the affirmation, the truth supports me, the truth. You know what's going on. You know exactly, maybe your child said something that came off weird to somebody else, but it didn't mean any harm. So as long as you know it, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So it's more of accepting that not everybody, unfortunately, is going to be open. Not everybody is going to be understanding. And sometimes people just remain plain ignorant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And you can have that moment of frustration with being misunderstood.
Absolutely.
Too, because you should always let yourself feel those emotions, but just not staying there. It's so important. You can't stay there because you need to be happy, and focusing on someone's stupid comment or whatever is not going to help. It takes
your energy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it takes your energy. It takes your happiness. So give yourself that minute to be like, what a jerk. What a meanie, what a whatever. I mean, I would choose different words personally. I'm sure many of you would too, but I'm not going to say them on this live.
My giggles are going to come back. Don't do that.
Yeah, meanie. I haven't said that one in a long time. But accepting that, some people are just not going to be nice, giving yourself that moment to be like, wow, that person is a real bleep hole or whatever it is, and then moving on from it and saying, okay, I accepted that that's the case and I'm moving forward. So the oil is acceptance for that, because like I said, you're choosing to accept it, and then you're placing that on your vocal cords. So
Jackie's going to say that because I have really sensitive skin, and I had a really bad experience with putting stuff like on my skin. I love the oils for like,
you have to do them slowly.
Yeah.
You have to do them slowly. Christine,
I didn't try these beforehand.
Somebody got oil happy on Christine and dumped a bunch on her face.
You can't recover from it.
So this one has, you'll be all right. We'll work together on it. So acceptance has more of a herbally kind of scent, which is kind of to ground you. Which is, more to ground you, remind you, okay. And as you're putting on the oil, I should have said this, you're saying the truth supports me, the truth supports me, the truth supports me. And like I said, if that affirmation doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can say, Johnny means well, Johnny means well, Johnny means well, Johnny means well, or whatever, you feel resonates with you.
He's a big meanie. Oh my God, I'm the worst.
Well, affirmations are supposed to be positive.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just kidding. I'm going home. Jackie's gonna finish up.
So, and then I didn't explain clarity before. Clarity has a very uplifting, kind of herby, minty kind of smell. So it's and it gets you to focus as well, which is really, really nice too. And it gives a little energy. So the next emotion we have is grief.
Yeah, so I chose grief as another emotion because I know that it's like a constant journey for all of you parents, of the life that you thought that you were supposed to have, and now the life that you do have, whether your child was typically developing and then there was an accident, or from birth, and so you're carrying this child and you think that everything's going to be how you think that your life is supposed to be, and then your life is flipped upside down. And so I know that grief is never something that you really ever stop going through, because you're always going to kind of grieve that. It's a process, it's a journey, and it's that grief is just kind of that part of where you are, and you're never really gonna maybe necessarily totally, like, your life is more beautiful because of your child now, absolutely, in a million different ways that a lot of other people don't get to experience, which makes you guys lucky in so many ways. But at the same time, you're grieving that life that you may have thought that you should have had, with a typically developing child, or you thought they were going to be able to play with their sibling and be a typically developing child, and they're not. And so I know that that's like a huge burden that you guys carry as well, every day. So the other side of that is happiness. Seems really simple, but staying focused, I guess, on the things that are making you happy and the things that you can be grateful for, are also really huge. Like focusing on those aspects. Like, yes, you're allowed to feel that grief, and you always will be, and no one should ever take that away from you. But that part that your life is more blessed because of these new ways that your life is because of this child, and the people you've met because of this child, and things like that. Like, you can focus on those aspects of it to really get through that grieving process, and it will come again, and it's a process, and you're gonna have to work through it again, and it will keep going back and forth, but you'll grow because of it, and it might get easier each time too. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it's also the fact that the affirmation for this is change brings growth. So I know one thing I've always said about special needs parents is they are incredibly smart. I've never met an unintelligent special needs parent. So all of you, from what I've seen in the field, continue to grow, you continue to study, you continue to learn. You're always looking for the next opportunity for your child. You're always up to date. There's always something for you to learn and, be aware of. So, I give so many kudos to that too. Mm-hmm. But, I think of it this way too. Without your child, you may not have taken that route. You may not have chosen to learn and, continue growing in that sense. So the essential oil for this is actually one of my favorites. It is joy. And it just smells happy. It smells like happiness in a bottle. It's got this happy, like herby, but uplifting, flowery kind of scent. So for this one, you can put it right on your heart. You can put it on your heart center, which is right here. But I can't.
Jackie's gonna keep her shirt on for this Facebook Live.
So you can just put a little bit anywhere. You can put it here. You can put it on your heart center here. You smell it?
Oh, I think I like that. It's nice. It's nice. I like the acceptance ones.
They're similar. Yeah, they're kind of similar. Acceptance is a little bit of a more florally has a little bit of a groundier scent. So that's the oil for that. And as I would be putting that on, I would be saying change brings growth. I'm still on the truth supports me. Change brings growth, change brings growth, change brings growth. So, and then our next emotion we have trapped.
Yeah. So this could be an emotion that you guys go through also, like feeling like you're kind of stuck. I know that it's an emotion that everyone goes through, but I know that you guys specifically, you know, like you're feeling like there's not a way out, really. Like, how are you going to get out of all of this overwhelm and like all of this stress that you guys constantly have? Or how are you like feeling stuck in a lot of different ways? So you feel like, where should I go next? Like I'm trapped. I don't know. I can't do this because I have a special needs child, or I can't do this because I can't leave, or you know, like there's so many different ways that you can feel trapped, and you know what your version of that is. But that's like another emotion that I thought that you guys might resonate with. And the other side of that is feeling free, and so feeling that freedom that you are
Craving.
yeah, like that feeling that you want to not feel stuck anymore. Nobody likes feeling stuck ever, and so feeling that freedom can give you that more happiness and more fulfillment, really. And go ahead, you go through that.
And then the affirmation for trapped is I am free. And the essential oil for that is transformation, because you are literally transforming from being trapped within yourself. I always think of it kind of as like a caterpillar and a butterfly, like the cocoon part.
Mm-hmm.
Like the caterpillar is in the cocoon, he's trapped, and then the butterfly, he is free. So it's a transformation. You're literally transforming your thoughts. So this one goes on your solar plexus, which I'm not going to stand up and show, but it is your stomach. So your stomach area. So I'm going to put it on my wrist since I'm here. But transformation.
She's gonna be a big bag of oil.
I always am.
Here.
I always am. My patients in the nursing home know when I'm coming. They tell me. But it has like this nice minty smell. You want to smell?
Oh yeah, it is. It's it
right?
is really minty. Yeah.
It's got this nice minty smell, and it's very uplifting, and it really is meant to be an inspiring smell. Mm-hmm. So that's how that one smells. A little harder to describe because it just has a lot of undertones to it. But the last emotion that we have for you guys today is suppressed emotions, which isn't really an emotion, but it's a situation.
Yeah. And so how many times have you guys felt like you have to be your best, and so you can't feel what you're feeling because you have to take care of somebody else, and you have to put food on the table, and you have to do so many other things, and you just have to get through the day. And so you're constantly like suppressing all of those feelings and not really recognizing them and seeing them for what they are and maybe why they're there, and realizing them is a huge thing. But I know that you guys go through this. I literally hear all of these things every single day with you guys. Like, I know that it's so big for you that, you know, and that's why I love talking to all of you guys, because I feel like you feel comfortable, hopefully, enough to like tell me more things about what you might be going through, and just to give you that opportunity to talk through it. Like, it's so huge. And I don't have to be that person, obviously, but like your spouse can be that person, or your best friend, or your mom, or someone like Chance is a great listener. No, but really, I can't get through this.
And you know what? No, because you're not that far off. I was watching a workshop the other day where somebody said, you know, if nobody is listening to me and I just need somebody to listen, and sometimes I talk to the wall. Sometimes you just need to say it and get it out. It's okay to talk to the wall. If you want to talk to that lamp, a tree, go outside and just scream how you're feeling. You don't always have to, you know, have somebody listening. You just need to feel heard.
And sometimes, like, I'm just randomly thinking of this, but journaling.
Yeah, I just saw the exact same thing.
So journaling is like really huge too. So like, I know when I can be like a very reactive type of person. So like, I know like if I'm going through something, I am very emotional. So I'll get really upset or hurt or whatever at first. And so anything that I'm feeling in that moment or wanting to say in that moment is not going to be anything that's productive towards the outcome that, you know, you really
sometimes
want.
Makes it worse.
Yeah. So a lot of the time I will literally write like I am feeling this way and I feel this way because and whatever. And like, then when you read over it, you're kind of like, I don't know if anyone knows of Brene Brown. She has the I Rising Strong book. Awesome book. Would recommend it to any parent, anybody really. It's such a good book. But she calls it like a not crappy. She doesn't use that word, but first draft. So like your stormy draft. So you write out your emotions and then you kind of are like in a better place because of it, because you just kind of like got it all out. And so it takes me a little while because I like right like I'm feeling this way because of this, and then things from like 30 years ago like come up from like me being born, like I don't know,
and it
doesn't have to take that long.
And don't judge yourself for it. If you feel it, just get it out. Don't feel go to somebody you can trust. You're not going to feel judged. So if some memory comes up where everybody else got ice cream when you were 5 and you didn't, it's okay that memory comes up. You don't have to feel like it's stupid to share. Get it out.
Yeah, and it's likely that thing that you write, that stormy first draft that you write, will be something that you would be horrified if anybody else ever read. That's like the perfect scenario. That's exactly what it should be, because you're working through all those like really raw emotions of everything, and that's going to allow you to like overcome it and recognize like really why you're feeling that way. And you shouldn't ever really feel like you should suppress everything. Like, at the end of the day, maybe journaling can be something that you guys can turn to, what if you don't have somebody that you can necessarily talk to. And if you do have someone, then set aside time, like what did you go through today, why are you feeling like this, or anything like that's important too. Like, if you have that person, that's great. And if you don't, or even if you do and you're more of like a yourself type of person, like journal, because it can take 5 minutes and it could change the next week of your life.
Change the next year.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
But also, they also have those apps now too, where you can sign up to talk to somebody too.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So they do have certain apps where you can sign up to talk to somebody. I don't know the pricing on any of those. I don't work with any of those, but it's good to know that they're out there and they are available. Yeah. So for suppressed emotions, the other side is protected, because, a lot of times we're suppressing those emotions because we are afraid of what might happen if we release them. What happens if I say this? Am I going to be judged? Is it going to come back for me? Is it going to hurt a relationship? Am I going to burn a bridge if I say this? And all things that, of course, you should definitely think about. Be careful how you release these emotions. Don't just do it.
Right.
Do it intelligently. But your affirmation for that is it's safe to remember. So a lot of times we suppress emotions because we don't want to think about them. They hurt us, they don't make us feel good, and that's why they're suppressed. They're in there, like, I think I brought this up. I don't remember if I brought it up last workshop, but I know my boyfriend has PTSD. I'm really happy he lets me talk about it now, because I talked about it even before he said it was cool. So he's a gem. But he has PTSD, and he struggled with that for a long time. When I first met him, he wouldn't tell me because he was mortified to tell me what actually happened. And one day he finally decided to tell me, and it was literally because he felt safe. We were at that point in our relationship where he felt safe to bring it up. He felt like whatever reaction he had to, letting it come out and letting, me know what happened, and whether that was crying or whether that was throwing a fit, whatever it was, he was in a safe environment. So it's safe to remember, and it is safe to remember. Make sure if it's something, obviously a very traumatic emotion that, you are, if any, negative emotions come up, God forbid, not that I want to reach out here, but God forbid any self-harming thoughts or anything like that you are reaching out to, whoever you need to, but it's always safe to remember. So the essential oil, I actually think there's two. I have one in my bag, which I won't dig out, but it's called Release Oil. But the one that really resonates with this is Eucalyptus Blue. And you can actually put that right on your brainstem, which, if anyone doesn't know, it's going to be right where your hairline kind of meets your neck. So this one, I always say, smells very strong and doesn't have the best smell. But in the essential oil world, we know it as it gets the yuck out. That's literally how it was explained to me. It gets the yuck out. So, and anything that you put, essential oils can also cross over your blood-brain barrier, which is really good to know too. So that's why they can change your mood so quickly. So So it actually only takes 6 seconds to change your mood by smelling an essential oil, which is a big game changer. And that's why we can use them for so many affirmations. And I know I actually in my lab coat at work have multiple essential oils depending on which patient I'm dealing with. And, I'll put them on my body so that way they, respond a certain way.
Okay, so those were the emotions that we had for you guys. If you have other ones, you can Jackie has this like awesome resource of a book, and so I'll definitely be like giving you guys her information if you'd like it, to reach out to her to talk more. Maybe she could be a resource for you to talk through some of this stuff. But I really felt like those might be like those really big ones that you might be going through. And so those all are like those emotions, like what we talked about earlier, like barriers that could come in the way of your goals. It's exactly what all of these emotions are. You're going to feel overwhelmed by your goals. You're going to feel overwhelmed by life when you're trying to reach that goal. You're going to feel you're going to feel like a lot of these emotions, and these emotions are just part of your daily lives though most of the time, so you're going to be feeling them always. And so how are you going to work through those so that you can have more clarity, I guess, or like have more direction and stay motivated towards that goal? Because
have more drive is good
too. Like there's a thing about like achieving goals and keeping that momentum up, and the more like small achievements you make, like small little milestones that you're making towards that really big goal, it's huge, because the second you feel that achievement from that first little part, you're like, oh, I can totally do this. And then like you're like working through the second part, and then you're like, oh crap, I still have like 50 more steps towards my big goal. And then you're like, oh, but I just got through that, and that was a really hard part, so that's okay. And then you keep working towards it. And whether that be weight loss, or whether it be like, I don't know, what goals do you have? I don't know, but like
starting a business.
Yeah, well, yeah, craziness. But you just have to set like smaller points, and these emotions will get in the way, but maybe this will help you deal with them and give you like more of an outlet and stuff. And like I mentioned too, we're going to be doing like a self-care challenge, which is going to be really fun, and you all better participate.
You need it.
And we're going to have like a little giveaway prize for it, a whole like self-care package. So you're definitely going to want to participate. No, but really like the whole saying on like the airplane is like, you have to use your oxygen mask first before you can help anybody else. Like self-care is number one, top priority always for all of you guys, and you never do it. And yeah, so you just gotta, I guess, make it a priority. And maybe that should be your goal. Like, I want to do one self-care thing per week. I don't know. Like, there should definitely be a self-care goal for you though.
And if you need help setting a goal, you can reach out to either of us too, and we can always help you, work in a direction for a goal as well. And if any of these affirmations resonated with you tonight and you want to try it with some essential oil, I can definitely, drop some samples off for Christine. Just let her know if you want to try working with them and see, how that goes for you. And don't forget, you can use affirmations on your child too, and explain. And sometimes even starting when they're younger is a great thing. So if you have a child that's in here and they're struggling, they're on the treadmill, it's really hard, they're walking, it's a big deal, it's really like bringing them down.
They're hating me because I'm making them do it.
Yeah, they're calling Christine a meanie. So it's great to help them realize they can have affirmations too, like, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk. And then a lot of times they're forgetting about that actual pain because they're so focused on that affirmation. And that's where the energy goes. And that's where you want the energy to go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so is there anything else that you want to?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay. Well, that was kind of abrupt, but anyway, no, but we really wanted to like talk with you guys about this. We hope that you can look back on this video and use it as a resource. I'll be sending out some information. I'll definitely be sending out, if you would like Jackie's information, reach out to me. I know that she can be a great resource for all of you, and I believe in her so much that if you trust me, then you should go to her. But also, if you ever want to reach out about another thing that has to do with this, like feel free, ask questions, reach out, and we can talk about it.
So thank you for joining us. We hope
thanks.
you got something out of this tonight.
And let's see how
Downright.
end. It says end live video in red. Okay. So thanks, and we hope you have a great rest of your time off. And we're going to be setting up another workshop, so stay tuned. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.